Welcome back, everyone, for the December question and answer live stream, members live stream. I see we've got a few folks here early, and I'm going to do their shout outs first. We got Trucker King 2010, Pilot Bro 39, Dusty, aka Dirty Dog 3436, Bogdan. Missed you in the other live stream earlier, Bogdan. Let's see here, Diane Lyons. There she is. Silent Dilemma. Hope you left your Volvo at home. Rob Strecker, Lurch. Well, that's fine, Lurch. I don't need a moderator for this since I'm not driving. So, a big boomer. Is it like the big bopper? Yeah, well, yeah, boomer's kind of big. Like many truckers. Oh my goodness. You know, last time we didn't have a Q&A in November, so it was October the last time we did this. People were surprised to learn that this video in the background is real. It's not from the game. You can tell by the people actually walking normally and doing normal truck stop things. Lurch, you getting some what do you call it there? Some... What do you call it? What do you call that? I'm not big. I'm fluffy. I'm fluffy. Right. Anyway, whatever that streaming thing is you get. Whatever that is. Hope you're not all getting that. I'm not getting any bad signals on this end. Yeah, or your internet, more than likely. If you're running something else, like if you're farming in the background. Buffering, thank you. I've had plenty of coffee today, but apparently not, well, I've had a whole pot of coffee. Apparently not enough. So it's probably Lurch, something on your end, more than likely. Well, I don't know. So, whatever. It is what it is. So, Silent Dilemma got a shout out. Lurch, Trucker King. I'm installing a Windows up. Yeah, that will do it. Okay. So, Q&A. You know, I only got one actual question posted from a Flatbedder. And that was actually from 2 weeks ago when I originally posted to do this, well, 2 weeks ago. then Texas came out, so that all got scrapped. So I guess it was sometime in the last 3 weeks, I got this question from Knee-High Sniper. Is Knee-High in the house? I do not see Knee-High. Well, he can watch the replay, I suppose. He's probably doing daddy stuff with his new baby. So Knee-High asked, oh, it says right there, 3 weeks ago. What was your favorite part of trucking? Well, it certainly wasn't driving in the snow like Trucker King has been doing lately. My favorite part of trucking was traveling all over this huge country and seeing all of the scenery that there is to see. A lot of that's in the West, in the Western states with the mountains and just the gorgeous scenery. Even the snow, you know, off in the distance, snow-capped peaks. Some of the other scenery I really enjoyed was in Maine. I love driving in Maine. It's so pretty there. So that was my favorite part of trucking, seeing the scenery. Let me do Knee-High Sniper's shout out then, since I just read his question. All right. Hit me up with your questions. I'm going to do a couple more shout outs to Flatbedders. Actually, someone asked a question recently, and I said, save it for the Q&A. Lurch, I thought that was you. Maybe that will remind you. Isabella Hagloff is from Sweden. Triple XN is from Norway. Susan Arthur is from Australia. I understand, Trucker. For those of you who don't know, Trucker King is a honest to God working daily truck driver in New York State, and he's actually at work right now doing trucker stuff. In this case, a drop and hook. So let me give a shout out to XLT 588 Gaming and Schwan Bruce, or Picard as we know him also. And I'm going to give one to, where'd he go? The Driving Gamer, who is moving. He posted some pictures from St. Louis and Nashville of his drives. So, let me give that, face that question. All right, that's enough shout outs for right now. Let's see them questions. I'll just stare at y'all until you give me some questions. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. What is your favorite simming game, and why is it Farming Simulator 22? All right, we'll move on from that because it's just a joke. What's for dinner? Pork loin, pork chops, and steamed broccoli is what's on the menu for tonight. In fact, I've got that pork loin, pork chop thawing out right now. Next. You want to know what I had for lunch? Oh, that's a good question. I'll tell you what I had for lunch, though, before I answer Lurch's question. Clam chowder. And when I make, it's out of a can, so it's not really sophisticated. But I like to add bacon. So I actually break up bacon that I cooked a long time ago and sprinkle it in there as a garnishment, and it's pretty good. Yes, good stuff. So what made me decide to share my adventures on YouTube? I got into this trucking game late in life. I was about 50, and all my friends and family, well, it was a surprise to them. More of a surprise to them, well, just as much of a surprise to them as it was to me. Because I'd been in, you know, my career path was, I was a technician in the military, in the Army. And then, yeah, definitely, well, I had coffee for breakfast. I didn't have coffee for lunch. I've got a little extra coffee. I forgot to heat up before this, or I'd be sipping on it right now. So I spent 6 years in the U.S. Army, 2 years of which I was in Germany, which is awesome. I love the scenery over there as well. And then when I came back, I put my technical skills to work. First, I started my own TV repair business and did that for maybe a year. And then some life stuff happened and I moved and wound up getting a job working at a casino in Laughlin, Nevada, and worked my way up the chain so that I was a electronics technician repairing the slot machines. And literally, because slot machines are electronic these days, you have to have those skills to repair them. So I did that and actually worked my way up within the casino industry. I was in the casino gaming industry for 24 years. This is kind of a lead up to why I was sharing. So I was in the corporate world, did a lot of corporate travel, did a lot of corporate stuff, even had a corner office for a time in a corporate office, which was nice. I wasn't a VP or anything, but I was up there. And but there were certain things about it that I didn't like when I had to deal with the public, because I also worked at casinos sometimes. So, but when the last recession hit, I got laid off from the job that I was working on a plan to leave. So I got laid off and got severance. So I'm like, score. And because I was gonna leave with nothing once I had my plan in place, but they acted first, and I was among the first in the company to get laid off. There was, well, most of the company got laid off because the business was bad. Anyway, so after a couple of years of doing the thing I tried to do that didn't work out, I had to get a job because I'd already gone through my savings at that point. And a friend of mine suggested driving truck. And I had fantasized about that off and on over the years, because I had opportunity during the course of my corporate job to interact with truck drivers who were picking up or delivering slot machines and gaming equipment from the casinos that I was involved with setting up. That's one of the things I did. I helped set up new casinos. That's just one of the things I did. I also helped manage them from the corporate level. So anyway, I didn't want to go back into the gaming industry. I could have had just about any job, and I got some offers, but I turned them all down because I just didn't want to go back. But then by the time I had to do something, those offers had dried up, and I didn't want to go back anyway. So a friend of mine suggested that I get into truck driving. He was driving truck, and he helped me get into the business. He brought me out on the road with him, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. I didn't like riding around with him because I don't like riding around with anybody. I like doing my own thing. But I liked the idea of driving a truck. Hey, Nihai, I got your question already. Hey, you have upgraded to 2. The answer to your question, Nihai, what was the question? What did you like the most about being a truck driver? And that was scenery, seeing the scenery. Anyway, back to the current question. So when I got into truck driving, everybody was surprised that I was doing that, because a lot of people that I knew in the gaming industry were saying, hey, so-and-so casino needs a slot director, or this outfit, they need somebody with your skill set. And I wasn't interested in that, but nobody understood why I was doing this. So that's why I got into trucking. The answer to the question of why did I start to share my stuff on YouTube And that is, I wanted to share the experience, the adventure. And that's what I called it. You know, sharing my adventures of being an over-the-road truck driver. Mostly for my mom, you know. She wanted to see what I was doing out on the road. So friends and family are why I started sharing this stuff on the internet, on YouTube. Because nobody really knew what it meant to be a truck driver unless they were a truck driver. So I started sharing it. So that's the answer to the question. And look at me now. I'm a famous YouTuber. Almost. So I'm getting there little by little. Having fun doing this, doing the gaming, talking about the trucking. Occasionally trucking. Like they called me yesterday, wanted to know if I could come in today, and I'm like, no, I told you I'm not available Fridays or weekends. So, but it may come down to where I may have to make an adjustment, because that's when they're busiest for this business, for the convention business here in Las Vegas. But it's also the slow season right now. Thank you, Dusty. Okay, any more questions? Oh, we could wrap this up in 15 minutes. Oh. Okay, Silent Dilemma says I'm relatively new, so apologies if this has already been answered, but I was wondering why you gave up doing over the road. That's a very good question, because that's the capper. That's the other bookend to the story. So I just gave you the one bookend of why, and now why I got into trucking, and now the other bookend is why did I get out of trucking. So a couple of reasons. I was starting to get tired of it. Health reasons. Being overweight, it was getting a little bit worse, and my health was suffering, and I'm still got some issues from that, but that's my own fault for not being more active when I wasn't driving. I could have been walking, I could have been doing a lot of things, but whatever, I'm healthy. It was my attitude. So I'll get around to it. Yeah, I didn't. So it was a couple of things. It was the health aspect. I had this thing in my mind where I didn't want to still be driving when I was 60. Because you see in the background here, people moving around at the truck stop. Well, occasionally I would see someone, I don't know how old they were, but they looked ancient. They might have only been in their 60s, but they looked like they could have been in their 80s. And there were a few that were. Or at least in their 70s anyway. And I looked at that and I thought, I don't want to be out here doing this when I'm that age. So when I think it was about 58 or so, I had that internal conversation with myself that I didn't want to be out on the road in my 60s. And my then truck lease that I had was going to be up in April of 2018. And I would have turned, well, not would have, I did. Didn't die yet. I turned 60 later that year. And so it kind of fit into my timeline. It was an arbitrary thing, but it fit into my timeline. I had to make a decision. Do I buy the truck? I did like the truck. Do I lease a new one? Or do I get out? I mean, there were some other options too that I kind of considered, like buying a cheaper truck, a cheaper used truck, and continuing. But I had it in my mind that I was going to get off the road before I hit 60. And that's what I did. And that was in April of 2018. So like my real life trucking vlog that I've been posting weekly, except for this week and 2 weeks ago. I've been posting like it's a day in the life, and I'm currently in the first week of March. Well, my trucking career runs through the third week of April, or into the third week of April, which means I've still got a month and a half of pretty much daily videos to post. Plus, I've got some extra stuff. So I don't know how that answered the question, but but in there you'll see the truck and what I'm doing, and start to have conversations about getting off the road. There was another reason that prompted me, and that is that a friend of mine who I worked with in the past wanted me to come back and work with him again. And this was not at a casino job. It was in the role of dealing with used gaming equipment. That's something I had done before and made really good money doing. And as a matter of fact, the money was so good, I was able to put down a large cash down payment towards an airplane that I bought back in 2001, because I like flying, and I had my pilot's license. And I was able to use that airplane in business, which was freaking awesome. So I knew the money was good, potentially. And so he was trying to convince me to come back and work with him. So that was going on in the back of my mind. That wasn't what I wanted to do when I got off the road. And I ultimately did not do it for two reasons. One, I really didn't want to get back into that industry. And two, by the time I got off the road and was ready to talk to him about that, his business had tanked a bit. Because it fluctuates wildly. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to get into it, because it is cyclical. You can go 3 months without closing a deal, but you might make $10,000 in that 3 months or more. And there were times that I did make much more than that over the course of a couple of months. So the potential for big money is there, but I didn't like what I was doing. I don't want to get into it. I just didn't like it. It wasn't a bad thing. It's just not something I like doing. So, but we still do work together. I actually, I originally built his website, and then one of the things I did after I came off the road was I updated it, built it up from scratch, or rebuilt it from scratch, and I manage it for him, and I manage other things. So when he has equipment for sale, he sends me the information, and I post these ads on his website, and then those go out to an email list of people who are interested in what he offers, and then he typically sells that stuff and makes pretty good money. And he deals with casino clients all over the world. So that's about as close to that business as I want to get. I like doing the website aspect of it. Anyway, back to the question. I guess I answered the question. I wanted to get off. I wanted to get out. And I had a couple of reasons for doing it. So I did. I still miss it. And American Truck Simulator, when I started with it over a year ago, I just fell in love with it. It took me back to all the things that I truly enjoyed about being a truck driver, which is driving around the country, especially in the western states, seeing all the scenery. So when I'm driving in American Truck Simulator in California, Oregon, Washington, well, all the western states, it takes me back. Texas, that's why Texas is so big for me, is because I spent so much time driving in Texas, and I enjoyed the scenery. Even though most of it's barren land, it's still scenic to me. And I value that. And so driving in American Truck Simulator, I really enjoy the scenery, and it takes me back to the things that I enjoyed about truck driving, without making me endure the things I did not like about truck driving, and that is dealing with shippers, receivers, other drivers occasionally. Because, you know, you run into a lot of jerks in the industry, like most industries you do, because there's people there. But sometimes you run into some of the worst people in the industry, or in society, because of the nature of the industry. There's low entry barriers. You don't have to have a lot of skill set, including personality skills, which fits me. I always struggled with that myself. But the way that I've seen some people treat other people in the trucking world, at shippers, receivers, yeah, it's a wonder more people aren't shot out there in the world. So, all right. So, least favorite food you've ever had over the road? Can't imagine that I've had bad or food. Well, you know, truck stop food is not that good. You know, getting one of them reheated burgers in the little plastic cabinet that they just microwaved. They're not very good. They're like, the meat's like cardboard. So I guess that would fall into that category. But I like going to the Petro travel centers and eating in the iron skillet. I like that. A lot of comfort food, you know. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, and gravy. The buffets. Get fried chicken. I love chicken everywhere. So, yeah, I guess the least favorite would be the garbage they reheat and put in there, and you buy it because you're in a hurry. You don't have time for a sit down. You grab that out, you pay for it, and you get back in the truck and you get on the road, and maybe you get to eat it while you're driving because you're in a hurry to get somewhere. Yeah, exactly. The iron skillet meatloaf. It was pretty good. Pilot food has gotten better. Well, it got better from the time I first was on the road until later. They started making improvements. Pepper poppers. Yeah, I think I had those. I don't recall. Yeah, they were deep fried jalapeno poppers with cream cheese inside. I think I had those at a pilot or a truck stop or TA. Anyway, yep. Oh, those are the ones. Okay. All right, what else you got? Hit me up. There was a picture I was going to share too. I don't remember what it was now. I know I shared a picture of... Oh, you know what? I think it was something in Utah. Somebody asked me something. Had to do with Utah, I thought. Least favorite type of freight that I hauled, probably water. Because it's heavy. Like 45,000 plus pounds heavy. Yeah, the pizza now is. Yeah, it's not bad at Pilot. When I would be in Maine, because when you take a load to Maine as a independent, it usually pays pretty good. So you go up there, you're taking something up there, pays really good, but then you're scrambling to find anything that pays anything. And water was always available for a load to choose. And it didn't pay very well, and it was heavy. Yeah, I agree. Knee-high. You can keep that bottled water. I definitely had to slide the tandems every time. Did I have a favorite shipper receiver? Tractor Supply. It's the first thing that pops into my mind. Tractor Supply. They had a distribution center in Casa Grande. Have a distribution center in Casa Grande, Arizona, south of Phoenix. and I would pick up loads there and take it to between 1 and 3 stores somewhere out there. Like I took a lot of them to Colorado, and I had in some of my videos you see that. So like I would pick up a load in Casa Grande, and actually let me pull up. My headset just died because I'm not using it. I guess I don't need it. Let me pull this up because I'm not listening to you. I'm just reading. I'm going to pull something up here and I'll move it onto the screen. So I did a video, it's been a while now, where I titled it Just a Big Circle. Oh, wait, you can't see that. Sorry. My bad. Where do I put this? Okay, now you can see it. And so I literally would just make these big circles, and I would start in Casa Grande, take a load of Tractor Supply stuff to several stores like up in western Colorado. Then I'd pick something up there and I'd drive it up to either, you know, Seattle, Tacoma, or the Portland area. Then I'd get something from there that was going back to Phoenix. And then I go back to Casa Grande, and it's just keep making that circle. Did that a lot. That's not what that's about. So, but it was steady work, and I didn't mind going to the places. Like you get to Casa Grande to the Tractor Supply Center distribution center, and it's a drop-and hook. You come in with an empty trailer, you check in at the security shack, you go back to the back, drop the empty one, pick up the loaded one, come back up to the security shack, get checked out, and you're on your way in 30 minutes or less. Most of the time, sometimes 20 minutes, because it really didn't take that long. And the loads weren't heavy most of the time. So, I like those. Did I have a least favorite shipper receiver? Maybe a type. Sometimes Walmart was a pain in the neck. Walmart distribution centers. Oh, you know, there's another one that I liked, and that was Dick's Sporting Goods. There was a distribution center near Phoenix, and I would go there just like Tractor Supply. Go in, drop an empty, hook a loaded one, check out with security, get my paperwork, and be on my way. And I would be headed up to either Idaho or Washington, usually. And I would go to usually 2 or 3 stores and get unloaded with their portion. I have to do them in the correct sequence because that's how the trailer was loaded. So I kind of like that because it's easy, except for the, you know, parking in the dock and getting woke up at 4 in the morning so they can unload you, because that's what time most people work. Let's see. The rolled paper, actually rolled paper was okay. It was heavy. Like one of the types of loads I would pick up in Maine was paper. At this one place, I can't think of the name of the town, way out in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful area. And it was kind of a pain because with paper, paper loads, you pretty much always have to sweep out the trailer and get inspected at the place, because the way that the paper is, apparently it's sensitive. If it's, you get a bunch of dust and stuff in there, it could gum up the works, I guess. And they were heavy, typically. So I didn't mind them that much, though. But I picked up paper loads all over the country. Picked up paper loads near Reno. Picked up paper loads in St. Helens, Oregon, a lot. Usk, Washington, which is north of Spokane. Picked up paper loads there. Picked up a load of, I've talked about this before, I picked up a load of wood pulp from the port of Baltimore. It was imported from Brazil, I think it was. Took that to Wisconsin. Yeah, had to favorite shipper. Have you ever had anyone mess with your rig while on break somewhere? Not that I'm aware of. And when I would come back to the truck, I would do a walk around. I would just check to make sure that there was nothing visual wrong. I would check my kingpin release handle, make sure it wasn't pulled, because people do stuff like that. That's what I mean by, you know, jerks. That industry has a lot of jerks. ABC Supply Company, I'm not familiar with that one. Never saw an adequately sized drop yard. I've been to some really bad ones, but I've been to some good ones. Tractor Supply is a pretty good example. If you watch one of the videos where I'm picking up or delivering a Tractor Supply in Casa Grande, sometimes I actually have video footage of me driving through it. It's very roomy, but it was also new. At the time, it was a new facility, so it was well designed. But I've also been at places like in Liberal, Kansas at the meatpacking plant, where they just got these trailers jammed in. And you're there at night, it's cold maybe, and it's just miserable. And you're trying to find your trailer, and then you find the trailer and there's something wrong with it, and it's a big mess. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of issues. You never see any of that in Trucking Simulator, which is fine. Right, Tricker Kitty. Yeah, he was just back down that alley and bank left into the yard, said the yard boss. Yeah. Yeah. I just had a flashback to New Jersey. Port of New Jersey. I think that was in or near Newark. That place was so tight. It wasn't a drop yard. It was a place I had to actually back into a dock and then drop my trailer and drive away, you know, just out of the way, because it was so narrow that there wasn't, even after you dropped the trailer, there wasn't a lot of room between trailers that were on opposite docks. Really tight. Really, probably designed for 40-foot trailers back in the day. So there was something I was gonna show. I thought someone asked something about Utah, and I have my Utah pictures up and I don't see it. So maybe I'm mistaken. But I do have some pictures I could share if need be. I'm going to put one up only because, well, it looks cool. No, that's not it. Oops. Not it. I'm not as proficient with OBS as I would like to be. Well, I guess. Well, hopefully this is it. This doesn't seem to be it. Nope, that's not it. Sorry. I don't know how to do this. I mean, I can do this. So I can share that. This is the type of scenery I really enjoyed seeing. This isn't modeled in the game, but in the game you drive right by this location on Interstate 84 in Utah. See ya, TK. Jeez, bro. Lurch. Jinx, show me Coke, as they say. Let me see what else we got. Let's see. Yeah, it's called Devil's Slide. What is the dumbest thing I've ever witnessed a four-wheeler or other driver pull on the road? I imagine you've seen some big blunders. I have. I can't really think of any off the top of my head right now, but almost every day you would see some stupid thing. It's the same kind of stuff you see on Bonehead Trucker's YouTube channel. Always something. Yeah, that would take a week to answer. I probably got some video of... Well, I do have video of that. Not necessarily of car drivers. You guys see that one video? Crazy people out here. That was one of my early videos. Let me look at this. How long is this? I'm queuing up a video. I'll put it on the screen in a moment. Okay, let me tell you what this video is. I'll set the stage. And just FYI, you can see the date stamp. This was February 17th, 2017. This is just east of Dallas. You're literally coming into Dallas on Interstate 30, I think. Let me back it up a little bit so I can see if there's something that shows that. Now this snippet is 3 minutes because this is a came right off my dash cam, not my GoPro. This is off my dash cam. So let's see what this sign up here says. Interstate 20. Okay. Coming up on 6:35. So this was in the eastern side of Dallas. And I don't know if there's any audio to this. I can't hear it because my headphones are off. There's not really anything to hear anyhow. Yeah, I don't hear it. But something is going to happen up here at this interchange. If you watch traffic in the right lane, one of these vehicles, I think it's that guy that just cut across 3 lanes, that right there. Now he didn't, that was not his tire, I don't think. But this is a good example of what boneheads do out here on the road. He's in the left lane, but he needs to exit there. I think I may have done that in one of the live streams today. Anyway, watch this. He cuts all the way over and he hits a piece of rubber in the road. It's a gator, is what it was. Almost hit my truck. Almost hit my truck. So there's an example of some of the stuff that can happen. Yeah, I'll exit now. Every bonehead. You're right. That's it. Yeah. Let me back up here. A lady fixing her makeup and her sun visor hit the ramped part of a HOV lane divider and went flying. Flipped multiple times and walked out without a scratch. Wow. So the fuel island will really cause fights. I almost got into a fight at a fuel island with another driver. I mean, damn near a fist fight over something stupid. I'll tell you what happened. There was a driver who'd been, the fuel islands were all full, and there was a guy that was waiting kind of out of the way. You know, most of the time you can pull straight in behind the truck that's in the fuel island, but this truck stop wasn't laid out that way. You actually were coming in at a 90-degree angle to that. And he was just waiting for the next one to open up. Well, I came in and one opened up. I wasn't stopping to get fuel. I had to pee and get fresh coffee. So whoever that was in the fuel island, I wasn't paying attention to this guy that was waiting. I guess I saw him, but since I was not getting fuel, I went past him and pulled right into and through the fuel island, past the pumps, and parked out of the way so I wouldn't be blocking anyone. This guy got livid with me. And I was just kind of in a mood. I didn't stick around. I had to go in and pee. But when I came back, he was still fuming. And it turned into a back and forth. And it could have turned into something else. But the guy in the next lane over who was, fueling and cleaning his mirrors and stuff, just out of the corner of my eye, I could see that he was trying to silently get my attention to basically say, just let it go. And I looked at him for a second and I thought, yeah, you're right. And I walked away. Because it just was stupid. It would have been stupid to get into a fight over nothing. And I was just having one of those days. I guess he was having one of those days. And yeah, stupid stuff like this. Yeah, you can get into fights over the fuel island. Because you've been all day long, and you just want to get in there, get your fuel, and get on back on the road. What is the worst day of the week to be driving? Dusty says, for me, it's Friday. Seems like traffic gets crazier on Fridays than any other day. I agree. Sunday may be the best, but Friday, because people are leaving town to go do things out of town on Fridays when they get off work. And the absolute worst is leaving Southern California on Interstate 15 at a San Bernardino headed north to Las Vegas on a Friday afternoon, anytime after 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't. And the same thing in reverse on Sunday afternoon. Don't try to drive from Vegas to Southern California on I-15 Sunday afternoon, because it's just 100-mile long backup, and that's, I'm not exaggerating for effect. It's 100-mile between the Nevada state line and Barstow, and it's just a 2-lane shuffling parking lot. Part of the reason for that, at least southbound, is that on the Nevada side of the freeway, or the Nevada side of the state line, it's a 3-lane freeway, but once you get down to Primm, just before it crosses into California, it narrows down to 2 lanes, and then it's 2 lanes all the way to Barstow. And it's a mess. But even coming north, I mean, there's just a bazillion cars driving north. If you wait till after 6 o'clock, it's fine. Better after 7. I've actually got a video of me being caught in that Friday afternoon traffic coming north out of Southern California. Hey there, Lee. I see you made it. Good deal. Yeah, I suppose it's true that you got the teenagers doing their thing. But I don't know about, I don't know that that was really a problem for me necessarily. I mean, could have been, and I just didn't know it because I couldn't tell who was driving. Yeah, I'm not going to do a piss by pay-per-view. Too dang old for that. Ever come out of Atlanta during Russia? Oh, yeah. Oh. Not out of Atlanta, through Atlanta. What is that? 85, 75, whatever it is, coming from like up north, like from Nashville, and you're headed to Florida, and you hit Atlanta during rush hour. Oh, that is just torture. I mean, Atlanta's bad most of the time anyway. Yeah. Which one's worse? Oh, I don't know. Lee, is it illegal or legal to park in a no parking zone for trucks with a load? Pretty much you just answered your question. If it's a no parking zone, it's not okay to park there. It may not be illegal, but yeah, whether they're loaded or not is not the point. If you're somewhere where there's no parking, you're gonna get a ticket and you might get towed. Yeah, Nihai, as a matter of fact, and I did a video on driving through the Bronx midday or during the day, the Cross Bronx Expressway, east to west, and then across crossing the George Washington Bridge. And in the video that I actually put on my channel, that was one of the better times. Yeah, Dusty, Atlanta is bad. Pretty much all day. Certainly weekdays, but even Saturday, because people are out running errands, shopping, things like that. There's a lot of traffic around Atlanta. And when you go through Atlanta, trucks don't drive into Atlanta. There's a beltway that goes around the metro. And that's the way trucks go unless they have to make a delivery in town. But it's still bad. Most big cities like that have a beltway that goes around, and Atlanta does, but it's bad. Yep. Nehigh is 100% correct. Sometimes you park in certain Walmarts where they don't allow parking. You might get your tire booted, or you might, if you're in the truck, they'll just tell you need to go. Or they'll just put a boot on your tire. And if you're not sure or familiar with that, it's a device that locks and clamps onto your steer tire. You can't move, and you can't take it off without a blowtorch or a cutting thing until you call the number on the thing and you agree to pay the fine, and they'll take it off and you can leave. And it's not going to be a cheap fine either. It's not a fine to the city. It's a fine to the towing company, or whatever company it is that placed that on there, that Walmart or whatever it was has contracted with. Yep, I've been booted out of a mall in the middle of the night by a rent-a-cop. I've literally had that happen. You can't park here. I'm like, but all this space. Sorry, they don't want you guys parking here. It was in Pennsylvania. But that can happen anywhere. I've been kicked out of Walmart parking lots, different places around the country. Let's see, can a truck driver not pay your permit? It is illegal. Will you get a ticket? I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, I was at a drive time too, Nehigh, and that's when I had to really push the envelope of driving just enough so that I didn't trip the ELT or ELD, my logging device. And then I have to wait 15 minutes or whatever it was. I could drive 2 minutes, wait 10 or 15 minutes, drive 2 minutes. Yeah, it was crazy. Let's see. Can a truck driver not pay your if you need permits and you don't get them and you get caught, there will be a fine. I had a book that was nothing but permits for all the different states for all the different types of things I might haul. You need a special permit for hauling alcohol. You need special permits for all kinds of different things I don't even remember anymore. I've never seen a semi get repossessed, but would they take the trailer too? Well, that depends on whether or not the trailer is part of the property that they're repossessing. I would think if it was if it was a company trailer and your tractor was getting repossessed, they would more than likely drop the trailer, put the landing gear down, pull the kingpin, and tow the truck away. So then the trailer would just be sitting there unattended. I mean, somebody else could come and take it. Not their problem. I was trying to say, if a truck driver doesn't pay their permit, will they get a ticket in the mail? In some states, depends on law. Well, it depends on what you mean by permit. What I was describing with permits is probably something different than what you were describing. I'm not sure. There are permits for so many things, and you have to have them in your truck, readily available to show to law enforcement or DOT. And if you don't have them, you get fined. It happened to me once when I was for a company that I worked with, Penske Leasing, and I went to get a tractor somewhere. I don't remember where, but when I came from Utah you have to drive through Arizona, a little strip of land in Arizona, and then back into Nevada. When I hit that port of entry, which is modeled in the game, by the way, it's St. George, Utah. Went through there. They pulled me in to see my papers. I was missing one Arizona permit. Had to pay the fine right then and there. And of course then they gave me the 1 day permit. So, and I had to fight to get reimbursed from the company for that, because they weren't going to reimburse me, because they're like, well, you have to make sure you have the permits. I'm like, it's not my responsibility. It's the company's responsibility to make sure you have that. So I dug my heels in. I got reimbursed. Right. Nehai's right. The repo company is not liable for the trailer or the load. It's not their problem. They're going to take your stuff, and it's all your problem. If your trailer gets stolen, if your load gets hijacked, not their problem. Lee, if you go to sleep on the side of a highway, will you get a ticket from the law? Yes. You used to be able to get away with that, and mostly it was on or off ramps. Most states now have laws where you cannot park and sleep and take your break on an off ramp or an on ramp. I've done it because there still were some states that allowed it, but in the east. On the East Coast, no. You will get a ticket. And some of those laws are pretty new within the last 5 to 8 years. Now, I got stuck sleeping on the side of the highway, and it's not safe, by the way. You don't want to be on the shoulder of a highway with cars and trucks going by. It happened to me one time. I broke down. I blew a tire. I think it was a trailer tire. And it took hours before a repair truck could come out. And it was already late in the day. It wasn't dark, but it was late in the day. And the guy didn't show up to repair the tire until, well, he had to wake me up in the middle of the night. That's how late he was. Because sometimes they get backed up and busy, and they don't get to you right away. And so I was out of hours. And so I was just sitting on the shoulder all night long, and I was worried because you can get sideswiped by a truck. And because of the way that my sleeper was configured, or at least the way that I used it, my head was on, as I'm laying in the bunk, my head was on the driver's side. And that's the side facing the freeway. So I had this concern every time a truck went by, and even cars would make your truck shake a little bit. And I worried about getting woke up in the middle of the night. Well, I don't know that I would have woke up, because I think my brains would have been splattered all over the place if a truck had sideswiped me. Because, yes, it would sideswipe the trailer, but it would also sideswipe the truck. And my head was on that side, so I was worried about that. But I slept fine. Yeah. Spent the night. Nobody bothered me. Yeah. I also had my triangles up, my warning triangles, because I was broke down. That is a requirement you have to do. So that's probably why the cops didn't hassle me. Plus, it was in the middle of nowhere. It was probably in Texas. I don't remember, but it seems to me like it might have been in Texas. Let's see. How can you be out of hours if you are on the side of the road with a flat? You're not moving. You don't have to move to run out of time. You have a 14-hour clock. The 14-hour clock, it's a duty day clock. That clock starts when you start your day. Once that 14 hours, you could be sitting at a shipper all day, and you'll run out of time after 14 hours. The only one that affects driving is your 8-hour clock, or I'm sorry, 11-hour clock. But that 11 hours has to fit within the 14. Yeah, Dusty, I've had to do the same thing. Pull off on the off-ramp and take a nap in the middle of the day. I mean, it's rare that I would do that. Like, I have a memory of doing that in Nebraska. Nobody messed with me. Slept for an hour, hour and a half. All right, Nehai, thanks for dropping by. Glad you were here. So Lee says, is this the law or not? If you don't pay your damage on your truck and trailer, will you get a ticket? No. Damage on your truck or trailer is between you, the driver, and whoever owns the truck or trailer. If you own the truck, it's on you. I mean, you have insurance. So you file, I mean, depending on what the damage is, you either pay to get it fixed or you file a claim and get it fixed and pay your deductible. If it's company equipment, again, you have insurance. Like, I had insurance for everything. I had insurance for my truck. I had insurance to cover any trailers I was pulling, and I had insurance to cover the load. I would have deductibles for those things, but I had insurance, and I had to have that. But that's a civil matter, so that's between the owner of the truck, which was me, and the companies I was contracted with. Part of my contract said that I had to have this insurance. So it's you don't get a ticket for that because it's not a I don't know what it's called when it's a law thing. I mean, it's a legal requirement because it's a contract, it's contractual law, but you don't get a ticket. Right. The Qualcomm doesn't lie except when you can cheat it. And it depends on how it's configured. Like the example I used when I got kicked out of a mall is I was able to drive for, I think it was 2 or 3 minutes before the thing would kick in. Might have been 5. Whatever the time frame was, I knew what it was because I had learned over time at what point does this thing start tracking you. But it depends on how the company has it configured. So some companies, the clock starts ticking the moment the wheels start turning. But at that time, the company I was an employee, and it didn't start ticking until it had been like whatever that that window was. But let's say it was 5 minutes. So if you drove 4 minutes and 55 seconds, it would not trigger a log event. But if you drove 5 minutes or more, it would trigger and it would count that 5 minutes. So I learned whatever that time frame, that window was, and I kept myself within. I literally used a timer on my phone. When I started moving, I hit the timer. And when it got to within 10 seconds, I stopped. And then I waited whatever the time frame was before it would reset that. I don't remember what that was either. So, right. Yep, Dusty's basically correct. The only part I disagree with is about when you log into your ELD. I was always logged in, but my clock didn't start until either I turned it on, I put myself on duty to do my pre-trip, or if the wheels started going for a certain amount of time and distance, then it would track. That's when your duty clock starts. And then once your 14 hours are up, that's it. You are done. So you better be somewhere where you can stop for the night. Yep. Well, Lurch, that's the reality of the FMCSA, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, or something. Those are the rules. You have duty day, and that's it. And then you have to take a 10-hour break. That's why when not when we're convoying, but when you're soloing, and you stop at the end of your day and you at a parking spot and you take that break, it's 10 hours. And that has to happen after a 14-hour day. You're allowed to, well, yeah, okay, I've already done that to death. It's not stupid. The problem is, the reason for it is, I mean, we can quibble about the numbers. I'm fine with the numbers personally. But the reason is because of drowsy drivers. Well, there's two sides of it. Drivers who will push themselves and companies who will push drivers to drive longer than they feel comfortable. So FMCSA's created these rules, and that's what everybody has to go by. So a lot of companies will push drivers to drive 15, 16-hour days. Well, hell, that's happened to me here locally. And those rules don't apply to me locally. And I wasn't driving, it was just a duty day. So, yeah. It's not just about moving. Oh. I just saw some spinning. I've already forgotten what it's called again. Yeah, it's about a duty day, not about driving. And yeah, it does cause delays in moving freight, but it's also about saving lives, or potentially saving lives. Because you get drowsy drivers out there on the road because they are pushing themselves because they're trying to meet it, get that money. Or you've got dispatchers that are pushing, literally acting like slave drivers, pushing those drivers. Those things happened before these rules went into place. And they still kind of happen a little bit with people with paper logs, but there's not many people with paper logs anymore. And I always hated paper logs, but that's because I hate paperwork. What happens if a truck driver failed to pass an inspection at a DMV? Well, they don't do that at a DMV. They do that at a DOT inspection site, which is modeled in the game, but we never get pulled into the inspections, as I recall. We only go over the scale. But in the real world, you can get pulled in for a random inspection, and there's different levels of inspection. There's a level where you can they just look at your paperwork, your registration, insurance, driver's license, medical card, that stuff. That's one level of inspection. Another level is when I can't remember how deep they go. Well, they look at your permit book, make sure everything's current. But there's also the one where they'll do a complete physical inspection. Oh, roadside inspection is one level, and that's where they'll just check your lights and do a cursory exam. I've been through that many times. And then there's the deep dive where they pull you into the barn and they crawl underneath your truck and trailer with one of them crawler things, mechanics crawlers, with a flashlight. And if they find something wrong, they'll give you a fix-it ticket. I mean, if it's minor. If it's bad, especially if you got hazmat, they'll shut you down. They will put you out of service, is what it's called. You're not driving anymore until you get the issue resolved. Your truck and trailer will be sitting at the DOT place, the scale. And in the game, if you notice, especially at the port of entry coming into into Wyoming from Utah, because it's a pretty big one. You may notice in there are some trucks. I don't know if it's modeled in the game that way, but there may be a truck in a fenced area. That truck is, and that rig has been put out of service. Just because they're parked in the parking area doesn't mean they're out of service. But they will put you out of service if you're out of hours. If you're caught driving out of hours, you're getting a bad ticket, and you're going to be put out of service until your 10-hour break is done. If you have serious mechanical problems like tire tread that doesn't meet the minimums, you'll be out of service, and you'll be having a service truck coming out there to replace that tire or those tires. There's any number of things that could get you put out of service that have to be taken care of before that truck leaves there, even if it's by tow truck, which is very expensive. So it's easy to pass the inspections. Just take care of your vehicle. Yeah, Dusty, don't let them push you. I've had that too. Like, well, if you just drive another hour, you can get to X. And they want to micromanage you from 1,000 miles away because they've got deadlines of their own to meet. They have to get these loads in. Well, you know what? Stuff happens out on the road. I got to the point where I would dig my heels in because, you know, I experienced that as a company driver a little bit. You know, my dispatcher would, you know, send me a message on the Qualcomm and say, hey, you know, this needs to be there by X. But I mean, we have windows of delivery times, or we have an appointment. And as a driver, we know that we have to do whatever we can to meet that. We want to keep that job. But occasionally things happen, like roads get shut down for winter. That happens in Wyoming all the time. Either snow or wind will shut it down. Trucker King has just recently went through a thing last week where they shut down the highways in New York State because of the winter storm. When that happens, you have to let your dispatcher know what's going on and what your status is. And then it's up to them to coordinate with the shipper or receiver, or usually the receiver because you're making a delivery. Anyway, whoever the customer is, they have to coordinate and let the customer know that you're delayed and why. And most of the time, that's the end of the story. You just get there as soon as you can. But occasionally, you get these boneheads that work at the trucking companies that are like, no, you have to get there. You have to get in your truck and you have to go blah, blah, blah. My answer would be something that I can't say on this live stream. So we'll just leave it at that. Not gonna risk my life for a load of lettuce or something. Just because it's gonna be late. What happens if you idle your engine and you do not know how to fix it for trainees? I'm not sure what you mean by fixing it. Truckers idle their engines all the time. A lot of states and many cities now say you cannot idle your truck more than 5 minutes. Most truck drivers ignore that. And most police, well, state police, don't really enforce it unless they're being pushed to do an enforcement action. But California is big on that. And you go into a truck stop and there are 100 trucks idling their trucks all night long. Now I didn't like to idle any more than I had to because I was paying for fuel. And you know, you burn about a gallon an hour idling your truck. So figure 8 to 10 hours, depending on how long. Like, do you need to idle it? Do you have to run the air conditioner? Do you have to run the heat? If so, then you have to idle it. And there are provisions for that, even in those states' law, that if the temperature drops down to below 20, you can idle your truck. But if it's hot, yeah, I'm going to idle. And I'm going to run the AC. except that I had, now when I was a company driver, that was the case. When I had my own truck, I had the APU, auxiliary power unit, and I also had the external AC system, and I had a bunk heater. So in the winter, I could run the bunk heater, and it would keep the truck pretty warm, so long as you close the curtain up front that separates the sleeper from the cab, and it would keep the truck warm. Plus, I had Kitty to keep me warm. In the winter or in the summertime, you got to run the AC. So that's why I made sure I had an APU, so I didn't have to worry about that. Now an APU, instead of, you know, the big motor up front burning a gallon an hour, the APU would typically burn, well, actually it was about 3/4 of a gallon per hour is what I calculated. But the APU would burn about a gallon in over 8 hours. So it was a big difference. And if you're paying for fuel, right now with fuel being, you know, around $5 a gallon or more in some places, you don't want to be burning 8 gallons of fuel overnight or more. I mean, 10 hours, 10 gallons. So at $5 a gallon, that's $50. You could just about rent a hotel room for that. Let's see. Don't worry about it, Lee. No, you should ask your questions. I just need to interpret it because I know you don't understand the industry. That's okay. Yeah, it does depend on which state you're in. Different states, you know, have different requirements or limitations, but more and more states are enacting laws, anti-idling laws. Lee says, is it legal or illegal in some states for using their Jake brakes in major cities and neighborhoods? Yes, sort of. But it's not a state law that I know of. It is a municipal law, which means it's a city law. Or it's a city ordinance. And it'll be posted at the entrance to the city or the town. Do not use Jake brakes, or Jake brakes are prohibited within city limits. I ignored that. Most drivers do. But I had a muffled, like I didn't have a loud Jake brake like we do on some of the trucks in ATS. My engine brake was muffled, so you really couldn't hardly hear it. But the problem was with the really loud ones, especially when they're going through at night, and it wakes people up. Or can wake people up. All right, I need to wrap this up. If you got any last minute questions, let's get those. And sod hollers. What about sod hollers? Oh, I thought it was cattle haulers that were the worst. I mean, granted, they're out in the sticks most of the time, but the boonies. You got your hair cut. I need to do that soon. A little long on the side here. Maybe I'll just get my little trimmer thing up. Bzz, bzz, be done with it. All right, I'll wrap it up here. Oh wait, did I get to all the shout outs? I bet I didn't, because I always forget. No. Cody Old, Bedrock, Cornell, R, JJ Man 1982. Was he here earlier? Was he still here? Or was that the other live stream? Nick, Thor Rasmussen. Thor let me know he didn't make it to the last live stream because he was watching Frozen with his grandkids. So that's definitely an excuse that passes muster. Carlin, Big Dave KF. 4,000 feet elevation? I didn't think it was that high. Rock de Boer, and if you missed that part, we were talking about he gets snow up there, and it's 4,000 foot elevation in Klamath Falls. AC Fort. Stobbs. Johnny Hansen. Oh, I should just shave it all off, huh? Lee Arnett. Oh, Lee Arnett is in the house. Aaron. David H74. Hamza Kin. Matt Altendal. Peter Evans. If you're watching this on the replay and you'd like to know what this is all about, I am giving shout outs to reefer haulers and flatbedders. If you want to get your name shouted out during a live stream, then click that join button and select the reefer hauler or flatbedder level. Boomister, Luke Rossi. I saw something happen. I'm going to give you a like, Boomer, before I walk out that darn door. You better. Mike Kildare, Karis Lynn, Matthew Roth, Ipswich, Fury 1312cc, Gearjammer 89. There's a lot of you folks that signed up. That's great. I think that's awesome. Joseph Davidson, Jason Kempthorne, Marcus Randolph. Talk about it. And now I know some of them are gifted, like Taco. You got gifted this. But that's because somebody stepped up, like Susan, Trucker King, Nicholas, Triple XN, I mean. Backwoods Boy 201 Gaming. Yay, I made it through the list. Okay. Another thing that all members get, regardless of level, is they get their name on the credits roll. Now, there is one name missing because I haven't had a chance to add it. So I'll just give him a shout out. Walter Peterson rejoined recently as a dry van hauler. Now, normally dry van haulers don't get their name shouted out, but his name is not on the credits roll because I haven't updated it yet, which I will do soon. You're welcome, Nihai. Thanks for asking the questions. You are famous, Lee. You're that soon-to-be famous voiceover artist. All right, you guys. We'll see you later. Some of you I'll see real soon in the Discord. All right, Dusty, glad you made it.